Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Bridgeport. Everyone is welcome here. Today we have a very special service. We are going to be presenting you with music of Beethoven, and only Beethoven. It's all Beethoven all the time. As you probably know, it is the 250th anniversary of Beethoven's birth. Now, during COVID times, it's been very challenging to celebrate his birth appropriately with concerts and the like. The particulars of his life are too well known and readily available to attempt to do that at this service. So we are instead presenting a collection of music that represents his three compositional periods, and which contains a variety ranging from the well-known Für Elise to the novel, some mandolin pieces. I would like you to note that during this service, we have disabled the chat feature so that you will focus on the music and on the spoken pieces that talk about Beethoven's life and his influences. We also will not be having a meditation today. We hope that you can find your meditation and places of peace within the music. Ron, can I have anything else to add?
Good morning. It's very difficult to honor or celebrate anything these days. It's a particular challenge. I'm sure that everybody had Beethoven events that they were looking forward to that were either canceled or postponed. So we're very, very happy and empowered to be able to do this for you. And we really, we have a very interesting array of music here. Beethoven, for Beethoven aficionados know that his works are divided into three main periods, and we have representation from all of those three periods for you today. So we just hope that you sit back and thoroughly enjoy this.
Please join us in the words for lighting the chalice. They can be found on your screen. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action as we gather together in the circle of community.
Whenever I think of Beethoven, I think of the word revolutionary. Now, I do not mean revolutionary in the musical sense of the word, in that way that Beethoven pushed the music of Europe into the age of Romanticism, though that is true. I am no musicologist, and for that I defer to Ron and Kristen. I mean revolutionary in that standard of political ways. Beethoven was born into the Age of Revolution. When he was just 19 years old, the French Revolution began. And in that revolution, there was so much hope for a young humanist just burgeoning into his own career. Just imagine with me, a young musician, obviously talented in his craft, but alive to his changing world. Imagine with me, if you will, getting news of the French Revolution, where the old, irrational systems of ancient monarchies seem to be falling to the spirit of rational governance and humanistic design. All of Europe watched the French Revolution. The old monarchies trembled with every dreadful development. But the humanists and the children of the Enlightenment, like Beethoven, watched with hope. Could the world be changed? The French Revolution had the audacity to change the very calendar of their country, a radical act that had not been performed since the establishment of the Julian calendar more than 1,500 years prior. Imagine the inspiration and the impatience that Beethoven must have felt. The very nature of time was changing. So what about music? Of course, the revolution took a downward turn. The very ideals of radical freedom, of democratic government, gave way to anarchy and mob rule and the reign of terror. The revolution was eating its own children. The guillotine, which was at the time a symbol of rational and quick death, became the rallying cry of the revolution. It can't really be overstated the importance of the French Revolution on the development of modern Western society and on Western music, and Beethoven was a large part of this story. During the time of the French Revolution, Beethoven's fame was growing as his successor to Mozart. He studied in Vienna, performing many of his early pieces there, and they were strongly influenced by Mozart's style. He began going deaf in the late 1790s, a condition which forced him to move to a small town outside of Vienna called the Heiligenstadt to come to terms with his deafness. And it was there that he began working on one of my favorite pieces of musical history, his Third Symphony. By 1799, Napoleon Bonaparte emerged from the French military to overthrow the previous revolutionary government in France. Napoleon's armies consisted of scientists and engineers, as well as soldiers and citizens. The rise of Napoleon out of the ashes of the Reign of Terror seemed to be the historic rise of the resolution of the French Revolution. And with him, there was a hope for a new Europe founded on the principles of democratic rule and rationally organized society. And this is what Beethoven was trying to capture in his Third Symphony. From its shocking opening of two loud blasts like the sounds of cannon fire, through the development of its themes and the haunting melody of the new French national anthem, the music tells of the heroic triumph of the Enlightenment Revolution. It is often considered the turning point in European history, a turn from classical music to romantic music. For Beethoven, Napoleon was like a consul of Rome, restoring to Europe the ancient ideals of democratic reign. He originally entitled the piece Bonaparte and wrote the dedication page to Napoleon. Later, he changed the dedication to a patron so he could be paid for the work, which is a very important consideration, as any musician can tell you. And then in 1804, Napoleon named himself Emperor of France. Upon learning this, Beethoven was said to have flown into one of his characteristic rages, stating, "So he is no more than a mortal, a common mortal? No. Now, too, he will tread underfoot all the rights of man, indulge only his ambition. Now he will think himself superior to all men, become a tyrant." He tore the title page from the manuscript and he threw it into the fire. He subsequently renamed the piece Eroica, meaning heroic, and dedicated it to the memory of a great man. And this story, not only this piece of music, but this story speaks to me of Beethoven's moral rectitude and his dedication to the highest ideals of humanistic, liberal, democratic values. It is incredibly hard to acknowledge that our heroes have disappointed us. All too often, we hold the heroic image over and against the actual person. We make excuses for their behavior that we know is not in line with our image of them as our heroes, or is not in line with our values. Imagine writing a whole symphonic piece, struggling with deafness, but being so moved by the heroic ideal of a person to literally change the nature of music for centuries to come. I can't imagine the deep disappointment he must have felt upon learning of Napoleon's ascension to Emperor of France. But I admire Beethoven's ability to hold his moral and political conviction above his dedication to his heroic image of Napoleon. I think it is this above all else that makes Beethoven so great to me. It's what made him truly revolutionary. It's what made him hold to the values over and against and beyond the romantic hero that he made of Napoleon. Would that we were all so steadfast in our values.
Good morning. Beethoven was greatly influenced by Mozart. Not only did he study his music, but he modeled many of his own works after those of Mozart. In his early years, he wrote 4 sets of variations using themes by Mozart, 2 of which were for cello and piano, for which cellists are particularly grateful because Mozart himself left no completed work for cello. The last of these 4 sets of variations was written in 1801, when Beethoven was 31, and is based on Mozart's theme, Die Mädchen oder Weibchen, a girl or a wife, from the Magic Flute. This particular theme is one that Papageno, the bird catcher, a quasi-comical character in the opera, sings. Papageno is fun-loving, easygoing foil to the noble and romantic character of Tamino, whom he is aiding in the rescue of a princess named Pamina. Mozart gave him simple arias in a folk music style. But left alone with Pamina, a more serious aspect of Papageno's nature is revealed, his desire to meet a beautiful maiden who would reciprocate his love. In his variations, Beethoven, too, reveals both the playful and more serious aspects of Papageno's character. The folk-like theme is stated quite simply in the piano with cello accompaniment. Then follow 12 variations ranging from playful, almost impish, to tender and romantic. All are in F major except for the 10th and the 11th, which are in F minor. And the 12th, the final allegro, surprises us by changing from duple to triple meter. Cellist Fawn Wiener joined me to perform these beautiful and delightful Beethoven variations on Papageno's song, A Girl or a Wife, from Mozart's The Magic Flute. We hope you enjoy them.
we will hear from Jeff Kagan about our 50/50 raffle.
Good morning, everybody. Normally we're having a musical interlude. I'm giving you a verbal interlude for about 1 moment. As you all are probably aware, we have some financial issues because we are not going to be able to hold the auction as we normally are able to each year. And so we came up with the idea of having the raffle, which I'm sure you've all received the email blasts on, including the details last Friday. And in very simple terms, we're asking everyone to think about what they normally would have spent at the raffle. Think about who they can reach out to. We are raffling off a 50/50, and we're raffling only 1,000 tickets. They're $100 a ticket. And the first prize, if all 1,000 tickets get sold, will be $40,000. Second prize of $5,000. Third prize of $2,500. And then 25 people will get their $100 back. And when all tickets get sold, we end up getting $50,000 for the Unitarian Society, which will close that budget gap that we certainly need to fill. So we've been sending out the emails. If you'd all pay a little bit of extra attention to them, it would be really appreciated. Please reach out to your friends, reach out to your contacts, reach out to everybody outside of the society, because within the society, we're all probably going to buy at least one or more for ourselves and our families. But if you just reach out and ask someone, hey, we're trying to raise some funds to get through the year. It's really great odds. You could win some fabulous money. Would you like to buy a raffle ticket or two? I think you'd be surprised at how many will say yes. And once you get that, just follow the instructions on the email of emailing me who you've sold it to, etc. And we'll take care of emailing tickets to them and doing this all virtually. It's a little more difficult than normally because you can't do it face to face. Ira Mendelsberg and I are chairing this. If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to us. And lastly, a poster will be going out to you on Monday, which is a PDF that you can then email to other people or post online on your social media if you want to try to let people know through those venues. So in advance, thank you all. Call Ira or I if you have any questions whatsoever, and let's get out there and raise some really good capital so we can get through this year. Thank you very much. And back to the music. Thank you.
Written in 1805, Fidelio was Beethoven's one and only opera. After he completed it, he said the equivalent of, "That was way too much work, never again." The story takes place in Seville in the 18th century. It tells of Leonora's love for her husband, who becomes imprisoned. Now, in the scene that I'm going to be singing right now, Marcellina is the daughter of the jailer, Rocco. His assistant believes that he and Marcellina were going to be wed, until Fidelio joined the workforce at the prison. Marcellina sings of her ardent love for Fidelio, not knowing that he is really the disguised Leonora.
From the Heiligenstadt Testament of 1802. O my fellow men who consider me or describe me as unfriendly, peevish, or even misanthropic, how greatly do you wrong me? For you do not know the secret reason why I appear to be so. Ever since my childhood, my heart and soul have been imbued with a tender feeling of goodwill, and I have always been ready to perform even great actions. But just think, for the last years I have been afflicted with an incurable complaint, advancing deafness. Though endowed with a passionate and lively temperament, and even fond of the diversions offered by society, I was soon obliged to seclude myself and live in solitude. Alas, how could I possibly acknowledge the deterioration of a sense which in me should be more perfectly developed than in other people, a sense which at one time I possessed in the greatest perfection? Almighty God, who looks down into my innermost soul, you see into my heart, and you know that it is filled with love for humanity and a desire to do good. O Providence, do but grant me one day of pure joy. When, Almighty God, shall I be able to hear and feel this echo again in the temple of nature and in contact with humanity? And from Schiller's Ode to Joy. Joy, a spark of fire from heaven, daughter from Elysium, drunk with fire we dare to enter, Holy One inside your shrine. Your magic power binds together what we by custom wrench apart. All men will emerge as brothers where you rest your gentle wings. All creation drinks with pleasure, drinks at Mother Nature's breast. All the just, all the evil, follow down her rosy path. Kisses she bestowed and grape wine, friendship true proved even in death. Be embraced, all you millions, share the kiss with all the world.
Please join us in our hymn, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. The words will be on your screen.
Before thee, and thee as the Son of Good morning. I'm Helen Matiso Ayers, the Secretary for the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Ron and Kristen and all of the performers for this beautiful music this morning. Every Sunday, we gather and we ask for an offering to support the work of this congregation. Our mission here at USR is to grow in mind and spirit, to act with love for justice, and to transform ourselves and the world. This work never stops, and it's work that must be supported by our time, our talents, and our material support. Thank you for being a part of this community and bringing your open hearts and open minds along with your helping hands and generous offerings. You make this community what it is, and you ensure that the work of this congregation can continue for generations to come. On your screen, you will see the instructions on how to give. Every contribution helps us create a more welcoming and better world for all. Please give generously. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Adelaida, written in 1797 by Ludwig van Beethoven, was inspired by his recent studies with composer Joseph Haydn. In Beethoven's early period, Adelaida was written about a narrator idealizing a mysterious woman named Adelaida.
Beethoven composed 6 mandolin pieces, which today we'll be looking at 2 of them. The Adagio, which is a sonatine in C minor, which has a somber and melancholy feel. And the next will be a sonatine in C major with bright and friendly tempo.
Please join us in the words for extinguishing the chalice. They can be found on your screen. We extinguish the flame, but may the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action burn bright in our hearts until we are together again.
Both of us would like to wish you a happy Sunday, and I hope it will be happier since we had this uplifting music. I know I feel happier. How about you?
Always happy. I'm happier after having enjoyed music and made music.
And we're grateful, very grateful to all of our guest artists, Debbie and Morgan and Dane. And did I forget anybody? And thank you, Elliot, for an eloquent reading from the Heiligenstadt Testament and Ode to Joy. And now I guess it's time for coffee hour. Yay!
Yes, please stick around, even if you are new to the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. If you just stick around after this service, we will break you out into breakout groups so you can chat with 3 or 4 other members. This is a time for everyone to really get to know each other and really have some connection in this time. So thank you very much for coming today and have a great week.